My grandmother on my dad's side planted seeds. She was married to an Assembly of God preacher. I remember her teaching me John 3:16 in the back of the car on the way to church on Wednesday nights, like my brother and I repeating it after her. And so while I may have gone away, I knew the whole time, I'm smoking meth and reading my Bible.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures. We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at,
few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are
because
loved.
we are loved.
Hello, my name is Heather Engels. I'm 42, and I'm here to tell you about my story of being born into chaos, loved to pieces, and held together by the stripes I chose to wear until God found me, fixed me, loved me, and showed me who I was supposed to be.
Hey everybody, welcome to Jesus Loves Addicts, a podcast of hope and redemption, and we're glad you're here as we dive into another story. And today we're going to be talking to Miss Heather Engels, and we are super glad that she's here. She was in addiction for about 15 years. She now lives in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and she would tell you that life is drastically different for her now. She's married to what she would say is answered prayer. Her husband is a pastor, Mr. Jeff Engels, and she is a mom to 5 amazing kids. That's awesome. She's also a loving dog mom, and she extends that love to your dogs if you so choose. She has a dog sitting business, and so we are really glad to have you here, Heather. Thanks so much for coming. And so 15 years, that's a big chunk of life carved out for something like that. So, but it didn't start there.
No.
Where did it start? I know we get the privilege of listening to you record your 30-second, and you said something about raised in chaos.
Born into chaos.
Born into chaos. What was
and
that?
loved to pieces. Have you ever been loved so much that it just kind of breaks you? So picture it, Pascagoula, 1982, November 4th. Here I am, born about 12 days late, as usual, and they had to come and make me come out. I guess I knew what was happening. But I was born to 2 kids. They were 19 and 21, I think, something like that. Maybe a little different, but they were married when I was born, but that did not last long. And I luckily had amazing grandparents who stepped in and became my safe place. Dad was abusive in the name of the Lord, and my mom was a broken girl as well.
Ooh, I'm gonna slam on the brakes right there. Well, because that's an interesting terminology, right? Abusive in the name of the Lord. How do you mean that? What is?
He wanted the best. He wanted us to do well, to be not perfect, but he wanted us to not get in trouble. He wanted us to be perfect, I guess. And it was always in the name of the Lord. We go to church, but there was never a relationship. It was just always religion.
Strict religion.
We're in church. We do this because this is what we do. There's no real reason behind it. We just want to be good people.
Was he a hard man?
He was a very hard man. Okay. Very, very, very hard. Very...
not a lot of grace extended.
Not at all. And I had an older brother who caught the brunt of that. He didn't care. He was kind of fearless, and I was terrified. And so he just did what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it, and I was the opposite. I was very bed made in the morning, pajamas folded, put in the drawer.
Out of fear.
Out of fear. I was doing everything out of fear. I did not want to get what my brother got and then what my mother got before they left as well.
So was he physically abusive?
Correct.
That's what you're alluding
Correct.
to? Okay.
Yes. He was
Both your mom and your brother.
correct.
Also
Correct.
you?
When I got to high school, I got a little rebellious, and I saw an ugly side of, a more forceful side of him. But I left quickly after that.
Yeah.
I moved in with my mom, who lived around the block, actually.
So that's interesting. Obviously, then they get divorced at some point. How old were you when that happened?
I don't remember them together.
Oh, okay. So you were
very early.
How
very
is
early.
it? Because I'm just curious, as you describe your father this way, how is it that you ended up with him? I mean, I would have expected it to be.
My mother was broken. She had mother issues, and
As in her mom.
as in her mother, correct. And so he took us from her. Is what I'm told. She was not on board with the doing everything as such.
He said.
Yes, she was raised differently, more freedom. And so she left because he was abusing her, and she didn't have the funds to take him to court and do all of that. So
She had to leave y'all there.
She did. She had to leave us there.
When you said your grandparents had stepped in a lot and that was your safe place, which side?
Both sides.
Both
When we were
sides.
at Mom's house, she lived with my grandmother, so we were at Grandma's house.
Okay.
And she buffered what was going on there. And then when we were at Dad's house, we spent a lot of time at his mother's house, just around the block. And she was a safe place as well. She buffered.
So where your mom struggled with relations, but where did your dad come by his?
I don't know.
If it wasn't his parents and you didn't see evidence of it there.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. We've not really sat down and had that conversation.
Yeah.
The healing just isn't quite there yet. I'm realizing now that I think the reason I need to be a perfectionist is because I never saw him fail. He was always perfect. He always accomplished everything he set out to do. He worked at Chevron. He was just very put together. And so I never saw him.
Well, put together in all the performance areas, right? When it came to relationship, all his brokenness rose to the top.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
He didn't have
Perfectly
any
imperfect.
any relationships.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember growing up, him fighting with his mother and his 4 siblings over us. It was just a mess.
Yeah, that need for control came from somewhere, but he's
That
not.
is exactly-
He's not in front of us, and we don't know where that came from.
And I want to
but-
say he meant well.
Yeah.
He just wanted us to be on the straight and narrow, to do well, to love Jesus, and do what we're asked.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's not too much to ask. I don't think he just went about it all the wrong way. He was a kid.
Right.
It's interesting, though, that
his thing wasn't developed yet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I feel like he did the best he could.
Yeah, with what he knew.
Yeah, and I like the way you started off, that you were born to 2 kids, right? And so, again, we always say that we don't talk about our past to demonize anyone.
No.
They're broken just like we are. And so you put that wonderfully. But I would just add, for anybody who may be struggling through that, desiring perfection for your kids is a wonderful thing. Demanding it and expecting that that's achievable in a broken world where we're all broken is a different question. We need to shower ourselves in them with grace. And that's what was lacking in him,
Yes.
right?
We did not have a safe place to mess up.
Right.
And that's a big deal. Kids need
That's
a
terrifying.
safe place
Yes.
to mess up.
That's right.
I'm scared to try anything. I'm 42 years old and I'm still terrified to try something new
Yeah.
or to.
What if I fail?
Exactly.
And a lot of times it's not that you have to have an answer for it. It's just, I'm scared of what if. And when you kind of when I've played that tape out in my life and walking through it with other women, it's, well, what happens if? Well, I don't know.
Right.
I just can't. But what is it that you're fearing? There's not an answer.
Mm-mm.
You're 42. You're not there to get disciplined by your dad, but you still
I
can't
can
get
answer
past
that.
it.
Disappointment. I don't want to disappoint anybody. Anybody, not even the mailman. You know what I mean? Like, I'm terrified to disappoint, to discourage. Like,
People pleaser.
Yeah.
I take it a step further.
Yeah.
I have superhero issues. I need to be your superhero. I don't want to just please you. I need to hear the bells and the whistles. I need to hear I need to see the streamers. I need to know that I have saved your life.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
And it's almost a form of manipulation as well.
It certainly could be used for that, couldn't it? I mean, if you were to use it nefariously, but it's all, you come by it honestly, right? So you were raised by a father who I'm assuming did not give you accolades because he was waiting for perfection. And of course, we can't offer that to anybody. So you're constantly, you grow up striving for it constantly. We don't know where to turn that off, and it becomes a part of your practice, right?
Now add in there that my mother and father hate each other and are complete opposites. And so when I'm with Dad's side of the family, I'm shameful of the part of me that's like my mom. I'm the spitting image of my mother. I look just like her. I talk just like her. I act just like her. I get told all the time, "You're Evelyn's daughter, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am. Thank you." But when I'm on Dad's side of the family, I don't want to be that person because that person's bad. She's trash. She's not good. And so when I'm
from their perspective,
half of you is bad. Half of you is not good.
Okay.
And when I go to Mom's house, it's the same thing. They know how Dad is. They know he's abusive. They know he's hard. They know he expects a lot. And so
anything of you that is him is wrong.
Yes. And so I have spent all my life always afraid to be whoever it is I'm supposed to be.
I was just going to say, you're always on stage.
No idea who you were.
That's why I wore stripes.
Yeah.
Wherever I went, my stripes changed to the community that I was in.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
I learned quick.
Yeah. To perform. Yeah. Wow.
And your brother, was it the same for him, or he just really didn't care?
Same for him.
Was there addiction in the house? Did either of them?
So I don't.
I mean, they were addicted to control, but
my mother was using substances.
It's probably how she lost you then.
Probably so.
Okay.
Part of it.
But y'all just really don't know.
We went to her house on the weekends, which was at her mother's house, my grandparents' house. My grandfather drank a lot of beer. The beer truck delivered the keg to my grandparents' house. But there was never domestic violence. There was never, it was safe.
Yeah. It was a slow burn.
It was. Yeah, exactly. Sure, he drank beer in the morning, but he would give you the shirt off his back. He was the most kind, giving, selfless person, never raised a hand, just complete opposite from Dad's house.
Yeah.
But still a little scary because they're in the world. They like to have parties, they have guests, and all of that's fine. But when you're 5, 6, 7, and you don't know what to expect, you learn to read a room,
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, unpredictability, we often think about that in the forceful sense, right? Where like your dad's side of the family, there's this energy.
Right.
But this laid back party environment that seems sweet and loving can be super unpredictable. And, I guarantee that if they're drinking and using that much, there are behaviors that have a little kid scratching their head.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when the other side is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
We don't drink.
Yeah.
We're in church. We're doing all the things.
We're all the right things.
Yes. Yes.
Well, wouldn't that also make you think that something was wrong with them, even if you weren't seeing consequences? At your mom's?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd get in the car with Mom, and she'd drive to Walmart, and I never will forget. She was on Highway 90, and she was in the turning lane, and she turned, and it wasn't our turn to turn, and she almost got into a wreck. And the car followed us to the parking lot, and she got out, and there were words exchanged. And I had a friend with me, and she said, "Heather, that was your mom's fault. That was not the other car's fault." And I didn't realize.
Know.
So then those things started happening. She was. You never know what you were going to get.
Yeah.
Is she going to throw the drink in the lady's face at Wendy's in the drive-thru because they said something ugly to her? Is she going to cuss out the operator on the phone? Like, unpredictability from both.
Yeah, wow.
From both sides. So it was tough. Trauma responses. I was a fawner. I lived fawning. I complex PTSD, my therapist told me, a few years ago. You have complex PTSD where you've stayed in that trauma response for so long that you're having to rewire your brain to think differently, just everything.
So given this history, and we're not there yet, but I'm going to guess that before you married your answered prayer, there were a lot of troubled relationships.
2 failed marriages.
Yeah.
Substance and fused.
So we'll get to those.
Yeah,
but
we sure will.
It's just a recipe for that, right?
Correct.
I mean, your radar is broken. You're going to pick up.
I'm looking for love in all the wrong places.
There you go.
I just want safe love at this point in my life.
And you're going to accept unacceptable behavior.
Oh my gosh. All you
Because
have to do
somehow
is
it's
ask
going to be
me, and I
your
was like,
fault.
sure, I'll give you me. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Take it all.
please, somebody take me. Please,
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said in high school you start to become rebellious. So
I do.
I'm saying up until then you're the fearful, dutiful daughter.
You were great.
I was.
And then
was.
what happens in high school to?
Started dating a boy.
Oh, there you go.
The boy will do it every single time.
Yeah.
Dad didn't like the boy.
Were you experimenting with any substances in high school
Nope.
yet? None.
Nope.
Was he the boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know it.
Yeah.
But he was. Have you ever heard of widespread panic?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to my first show in 2000 and didn't do any drugs, no substances, did not I was embarrassed. I was scared. Don't look at me. I'm scared. Don't look at me. Just soaking it all up.
Yeah.
But I never will forget my first show. Afterwards, I looked at my boyfriend. I said, that doesn't feel wrong. He said, what do you mean? I said, the way they praise the band. Like they come out and everyone's like, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, that's for Jesus. That's for God. That's not, I've got so much thinking about it. Like the Holy Spirit was saying, child, this is not for you.
Yeah.
This is not where you need to be. And I was saying, but it feels good.
Yeah.
I feel safe, kind of. I feel loved. So
I'm seen.
I'm seen. And I'm not with my mom and I'm not with my dad. And so.
Yeah.
One half isn't bad.
So that's interesting. As somebody who still enjoys that kind of music, right? The Allman Brothers,
okay.
White, right?
Yes,
White Superman, all that kind of stuff. But I like that piece of it, right? So what you said is really interesting, right? We certainly don't want to divert our praise from anyone, but I'm going to ask you this because that's a. Well, let me just ask.
Sure.
So at this stage in your life, clearly you have a knowledge of God. You have this concept of him, but do you feel like it is sort of more packaged in your dad's wrapping? Do you have this very rigid?
Correct.
It's religion.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Very much.
Okay.
I had tasted, and when I was in junior high, I went to Assembly of God church camp in Kosciuszko, and I had my first experience with the Holy Spirit. And I knew right then, I was like, oh, that feels good. I like that. I want that. And I craved that feeling. My grandmother married an Assembly of God preacher, and so we were very involved with an Assembly of God church, and I loved that part of Heather.
Yeah.
Loved that.
Yeah.
It made me feel good and feel right and feel whole. But when I go to Mom's house, the things I did there made me feel differently. And so.
Was she not spiritual? Was she not a Christian?
Didn't go to church.
No.
Okay.
No. They
Not
were
even a Christian. Didn't have that faith.
I mean, my grandparents were Catholic.
Okay.
And so they kind of went.
Did you go? Did you attend Mass with them ever?
Absolutely not. In fact, every Sunday. So while I stayed at Mom's house on the weekends, Dad made us go to church every Sunday. So Mom was dropping us off at church and then leaving and then come back and picking us up after church. So every Sunday I'm in children's church praying for my mom to be saved. Like that was raise your hand if you have a prayer request. I want my mom to be saved. Raise your hand,
Every Sunday.
And so every single Sunday, that was my prayer.
It's interesting because, well, very quickly, but Catholicism is very religious. It's religious, right? It's that politic of religion, and she marries on the other end of the extreme a very religious man, right?
Yep.
So just kind of seeing that cycle of setups, and we haven't gotten to your own dysfunctional relationships yet, but that's coming. So so you're with this boy, he's introducing you to the things of the world and
good old time.
Yes.
And you liked him.
I did. I like him. I like him. He's one of the cool kids. He's 3 years older than me.
He's different.
He was different. Yeah.
Did it bother you? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did it bother you or affect you at all that your dad did not like him?
Yes.
Or did it motivate you?
Both.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
It bothered me
because typically you needed to do everything he asked you to do, but this is the first time that it had been something that I don't think you were willing to let go of.
The feeling he gave me, the boy, was better than what I was getting from my dad. And so he won over. He won.
Boy, that is so interesting because, and this is something that I think is worth parking on for a minute because your dad gave you rigid structure. Now, he did it with good intent, right?
Absolutely.
We're not bashing dad.
No,
but he made some serious dad mistakes, right? And unfortunately under the guise of religiosity, right? And so that affects how we see that as well.
Sure.
But the void he left in you was the need for emotional connection. And so you were grasping at that wherever. So boyfriend gave you the emotional connection. And there's the
correct,
right. There's the silver lining there, and and that feels much better than the the rigid, And
so even though this concert stuff kind of feels wrong, and we are having premarital sex, but
the relationship didn't feel wrong because you weren't walking on eggshells.
Correct. Yes, that's true. It felt good, the best.
I would say you could breathe.
Yeah, I was able to breathe. But not only until we went in public because he'd get a few beers in him and he had little man syndrome and want to fight everybody that walked in front of him. Like we would say, babe, do not fuss. Do not get into a fight tonight. Promise me, no matter what happens, we're not going to have the police called. We are not going to get into a fight. We're just going to have a good time. Never happened. Ever, ever, ever. So here I am with another man who's domestic, who has some violence, some temper issues. And while he did not put his hands on me, he kept me in line. I was scared that he's going to do what my mom did at Wendy's that time, throw the drink in someone's face, cuss someone out in the parking lot, get into a wreck on the interstate.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. I'm going to challenge you a little bit there, Kat.
Go ahead.
But so Kathryn just said you could breathe, right? And I think there's some truth to that, but I think the opposite is also true, right? You found yourself in another stifling relationship, right? Here you are, you have to keep reining him in. You found yourself in a mother role, right? In some ways. I mean, you're trying to wrap him up. But isn't it interesting that this guy has many of those qualities that your dad possessed, right? I always say this, that as humans, we migrate towards what's familiar to us.
True.
And then we rename familiar comfortable. And so we say, I'm comfortable here. But we're often not comfortable. It just feels familiar.
Correct.
Yeah. And so is this where you find yourself?
Yes.
So still breathing, under great pressure here. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a different breath, I guess you could say. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's the same, but different.
Yeah.
This boy went on to hook up with most of my friends. Isn't it just? And then I married him.
Aha. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, that's the roadmap to a happy marriage. Yeah. But again, missing all the warning signs, right?
Correct.
And so how did that come about? And did you try drugs or alcohol prior to marriage? Did this come by way of him?
Yes. I eventually gave in and tried the cocaine. And tried the...
That was your introduction to it all? You went straight to cocaine? Or
No. Marijuana first. At the concerts, I eventually started a little LSD, mushrooms, ecstasy, that sort of thing. And then slowly the weekend party spilled over to the week.
Sure.
Yeah, you know how that happens.
Yeah.
And we decided we're going to get married in the middle of all of this. I'm 18.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get out of my mom's house. I'm just looking to start my life so that I can get out of this, the mess that I was in. So I'd move from one mess to another.
Trade one chaos for another.
Yeah.
So how quickly did that progress for you? Say it goes from the weekend shows to kind of weekly and throughout the week. How quickly did that progress for you?
It took about a year. It wasn't like super quick.
But
things
still, you're like 19, right?
Yes. Yeah. We had a nitrous tank, like that. The weekends were.
The nitrous definitely went with the widespread.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gosh. Oh my God.
So when you married him, what did that look like for your family? Like the relationships with your father, with your mother, with your sibling?
So I had moved out of my dad's house when I turned 17. And so I moved in with Mom. And then boyfriend moved in with me at Mom's. Dad knew he was living there. Dad didn't like it. Dad couldn't do anything about it. Dad lived around the corner. We had to drive past Dad's house to get to Mom's house. So it was very, he would just turn his head when I would drive by. He wouldn't even look at me. He would just.
So was there a period of time where that relationship was just not?
When I moved out, he told me to leave and never come back. Yeah.
So y'all weren't communicating at all?
Oh, no, we didn't communicate for a few years after that. But anyway, he agrees to let me get married. We have a sit down with him and my stepmom, and he apologizes. He wishes us the best. He helps pay for some of it. Like it's all good. He is putting his best foot forward and trying. So
is stepmom a softening agent for Dad?
She is a bridge over troubled water.
Is she? Okay.
Gosh, that woman. Her name's Carol, and she's a mother. She's a true mother. She took in 2 kids that were obviously hurting and struggling. And she's only 10 years older than my brother. And so she was a baby when they got together. But she was amazing. She would, when my brother and my dad would be tying into it, she would come in my room with me and just kind of hold me and tell me it's going to be okay. And she would try to interfere. Donnie, please stop. That's too much, But he was very, get out of here. This is my kid. I'll handle this.
Was he ever abusive to her?
No. And so they went on to have 2 kids that never saw that side of him. So while that's good for them, it's kind of hard for me because don't get me wrong, I'm glad they've never seen him bite that thumb and do what he does. But it's like, why did they get the good dad, but why didn't I? Like,
but
what's wrong with me?
Or both of you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that we ever fully get that answer, right? Other than people grow and shape
and change.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like that's allowed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's encouraged.
But it's still hard.
It is.
I think that with that level of acceptance, there's also like a grieving.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So, step into this marriage. How quickly does
it fizzle out?
Well, get chaotic.
Fairly quickly. We are. He's an electrician. He's making good money, working out of town on boats, and I'm working at a law firm.
So lots of money coming in.
Lots of money coming in.
Is it still going out to bad places?
It is, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So there's lots coming in, but not a lot to show for it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a lot.
I finally have my fill. We were married for 4 years, maybe 3 or 4 years.
Any children in that marriage?
No.
Okay.
No, sir.
How'd you feel of the chaos?
Of the chaos of the drugs and honestly, I started looking elsewhere.
Yeah, because the way out is the way
that's
in
what
to
you do.
something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, I stepped out on my marriage, and then I found out he had stepped out on our marriage with my best friend at my brother's house. Found them in bed together.
Did your brother know this?
He did.
So that created some tension there,
correct.
I imagine.
Yeah, he was working for him. And my brother was working for my ex-husband, for my husband at the time. And so he kind of felt obligated to allow that to happen.
That's a terrible position to be in.
Yes. And his wife at the time was good friends with her. There was like 8 or 9 of us. The Coke man lived 3 houses down. I mean, we were just all staying up days at a time.
Y'all were just partying.
Were you close to your brother?
Yes.
You were.
Extremely close.
It's so interesting, isn't it? It's just how dysfunctional.
Yeah.
What's it? Just how dysfunctional that whole social circle becomes, right? Because I'm sure your brother didn't set out to hurt you.
No.
But everything just gets foggy. Everything just gets foggy, and lines get crossed, and then
they get blurred and
just,
stomped on. But also, that's a terrible position for him to be in, simply because if this man is my boss and this is how I provide. You mentioned he has a wife, so this is how I provide. This is my sister. It's like,
yeah. It was
so that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, I'm assuming. Okay. Did you say he was physically abusive to you as well?
No, he just had a temper.
But he never was physically
He was never physically abusive. He hit on our dog a little bit. When he'd get drunk and angry, he would lose it on the dog. And then, of course, that triggered me with my dad hitting my brother and my mother.
Yeah.
And so I fall into the fawning and, just trying to just
Did you become your mother?
Oh, ding.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So how bad was your addiction at the end of this marriage? What's going on with your own use here?
Gosh. At this point, I tell my mom, because she's doing cocaine with us. I didn't tell you that. Mom, I need to quit. I don't need to do this. My dealer told me at Halloween, you need to put a little meat on your bones. You need to eat something.
Your drug dealer told you that.
My drug dealer
There's
told me
usually a
this.
real problem if your drug dealer's telling you
I'm
need
like,
to
Mom,
chill out.
I need to stop. Well, could you just get me one more bag? Could you just please get me one more sack? And I was kind of talking to a friend who lived in Vicksburg at the time. And he called me one night. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, picking up my mom a bag. He was like, I thought you were going to stop. I was like, well, I tried. And he was like, you need to move up here. So I moved to Vicksburg.
Still using? Or
no,
is this
I
your
quit.
first? Oh, so this
It's
is
my first
foray into sobriety.
Correct. I'm going to stop. I'm going to thank you for saving me from this horrible situation. I'm going to move up there. I'm going to live with this guy's grandmother, and I'm going to get off drugs. And that's what I did.
Okay.
It worked out.
How long did that last?
A little while.
A few months.
Yeah.
few months till I got a job waiting tables.
So your money came in.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I found myself. Like, I found a piece of myself. I started waiting tables. I'd never done that before, and I was good at it. I'm a servant from way back, and I love.
Well, you're a performer.
Yeah, well, exactly.
That fits well with that job description.
I did really well. I started serving at a little restaurant called Rusty's Riverfront Grill in Vicksburg, Mississippi, and stayed there for the 4 years that I lived there, and loved it. Even made manager status at one point. Found my niche. Like, I loved it. It was good until it wasn't.
Right.
Till I had a birthday and decided to take 12 ecstasy pills over one weekend.
So you lost that job due to...
Pretty much. I mean, I lost my manager position over that. I did not lose my job, but I lost my manager position.
Which made it harder to stay there.
Were you still living with the friend? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And was there a relationship now?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
We were dating and living together, and
the guy who moved you up there? Okay.
And I was doing cocaine behind his back with friends at work.
Did he use?
He did prior to me. He was kind of getting out of that.
Okay.
He did not want that.
So he thought he had a partner on the journey to sobriety.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were using covertly.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay.
At the bar, in the bathroom.
Okay. And
I think sometimes that we find that part of it fun.
Ugh.
the secrecy and the
I do.
part of the
Gotta have it. And I don't have to tell you.
Yeah. So, and he never caught on, or did?
Oh yeah, he eventually caught on.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
He didn't love it.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's Thrift Stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's Thrift Stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's Thrift Stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
And eventually he started using again with me a little bit, but it never got bad. I'm going to say my mental health is probably what stopped that relationship. I didn't believe him when he said, I love you. I just want what's best for you. Like my brain, I kept messing it up. Like it's like, why are you being quiet? You don't like me anymore. You want, constantly needing gratification, like always. And that's exhausting.
Yeah.
For someone,
for anybody.
To have to constantly be babysitting your partner. And I mean, he would tell me that I shook the broom too hard and I would cry for 3 days. You don't like me anymore because I don't know how to sweep the floor properly. Like, I need you to tell me what to do.
Wow.
And I'll do it.
And I'll do it.
But don't let me guess.
Yes. Because I'm going to guess wrong.
Yeah.
100%.
It's so interesting because, again, we look at the model of Christendom that you were raised in and that religiosity. And boy, here you are describing somebody just totally void of a sense of self, right? Which really, from the Christian perspective, we only get through Christ.
Correct.
Right? But you're looking for it
Everywhere.
through everybody else. And because there's none of it in coming from a place anywhere in you. It's just really a sad picture being painted here, right? This must have been a very difficult and sad time for you, right? So yeah. Would it be fair to say that during this period of your life, you felt more at home in bad relationships than good?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was super comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
You don't realize.
But see, there you again are using that word comfortable. And I think what you really mean is it's familiar. This was familiar to me. So I will stay here because I recognize this. Right? And yeah. The unknown is scary. Wow.
I don't know how to present the unknown.
Well, and when you meet a healthy person, that's also scary.
Oh my gosh.
Can't trust that because I don't know what that is.
Exactly.
Well, and that's the flip side of the fear of failure, right? Is the fear of success.
Yes.
Because somebody who fears failure doesn't trust success. So they think it's a setup for the next shoe to drop. So they can never be comfortable.
I've not thought about it that way, but that's true. Yeah.
So here you have this guy who is at least expressing all the right things, but you can't trust it.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
And I've also never just had like love. Love has always come with something bad as well. Like it's never just pure, gentle,
It came with a price.
Love. It came with a price. It came with, you just went out and got into a fight with half the bar, but the next day you tell me you love me and I'm, you're never going to do all that again and blah, blah, blah. So it's always like a slap in the face and then love. Like it's never just love.
Yeah.
Like it's never just a love.
You always had to earn it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
So you don't marry this guy.
No.
Okay. So that relationship and the job ends.
It does.
And then you are off to?
I moved back home.
Back home.
I come back home.
With who?
I moved back in with my mom.
Was she still using?
She was. And I'll tell you this, my family has a business in Pascagoula, Bozo Seafood. And so I would work there when I didn't have a job anywhere else.
Yeah.
It pays
You could
to
always go back.
have a business, yes. Yeah. And so I was in there when I didn't have a real job is what I call it.
Yeah.
But you liked that atmosphere.
I did. I loved it. I loved it.
Again, it fits tightly with that performance-based character, right?
Yep.
I mean, yeah. So.
And then for me to say, "Oh, I'm the owner's daughter."
Yeah.
Ah, okay, yeah.
That kind of gave me a
Street
superhero.
cred.
Yes, it gave me a superhero.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, oh, you know people.
Yeah.
I see.
So how quickly does the next Prince Charming come along?
Oh, a few weeks.
Yeah.
Few weeks, I run into a old high school buddy at my brother's house buying a bag of weed.
Had you been sober for the few weeks that you moved back, or you using? Well,
No.
Mom's here using,
Correct.
so it's an easy.
Right,
yeah, there's
right.
no
I'm just
reason
smoking
to.
pot, taking Xanax, Valium,
Okay.
that sort of thing. I know it's not just, but I was not doing hard things. I was just, that's just what we did.
Yeah.
Mom had a prescription for Xanax growing up, and so it was always like one for you, one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't sleep. Here's some Tylenol PMs. That'll help you.
Always a pill.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. But it wasn't like a dad's, like it was equally toxic, but different at the same time. So anyway, I move home. I run into.
Is Dad in the picture here, or has he gotten frustrated again with where?
Wait, my dad?
Your dad.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is in the picture as much as I will allow him to be.
Okay.
When I need something, I call
All right.
Dad. Otherwise, I keep my distance.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he's still answering the phone.
But he is still answering the phone.
Okay.
And comes running every time I call.
Okay. So 3 weeks, another
Yes.
Prince Charming.
Yep, old Nick.
Ah.
His name's Nick. Also known as husband number 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Mess number 3.
Yeah.
Mess number 2. He was doing well at this time. He was selling weed, but was not smoking it or doing drugs. He was trying to work out at Chevron. And so here I come into the picture, bebopping this cute little smiley thing. Can I get some weed, please?
Yeah.
And then before we know it, we're hanging out all the time. And then he's spending the night. And then now he's smoking again. And before I know it, we're moved in together, and I catch him in the bathroom with some pills. Pain pills. That's a whole new ballgame for me. I never did pills. I never did pain pills. I was a Xanax Valium kind of girl. I did not like, but he was doing Opanas. He was these really strong, high dollar, we ended up with a $200 a day addiction from these things.
When you saw him in the bathroom, did that upset you, or did it immediately pique your interest?
Oh, no. I got mad first.
Okay.
Because the first husband was shooting him up, and I didn't like that. I never used a needle. I was like, I have standards. I'll snort all the things you want, but I'm never going to use a needle.
Yeah.
I'll smoke meth, but I'm not using a needle.
Yeah.
Standards. I love that.
Well, but we do. We lie.
Right,
It's
yeah,
like it's going to make I may not have done meth, but, I just smoked crack. Well, meth heads are going to call you a crackhead.
Right.
It's
So
ridiculous.
So anyway, I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, oh, well, so I was mad for like 30 minutes, and I was like, well, I want to try it.
You're going to do it.
And so like this tiny little bit, and I was like throwing up for hours. It's miserable. Like what?
And you do it again.
And you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And now we can't share. Now I need my own. And now I need Suboxone when we don't have it. And now I just don't want to live.
How old are you at this point?
25, 26, 27-ish. I was not suicidal, but I did not like when I would wake up and I'd be like, I woke up again.
Yeah.
And hated it. Hated life.
It's interesting, in so many of the stories we hear, they get to either a very overt suicidal ideation where I consciously want to kill myself, or what they call that parasuicidal, where you just don't care if you live or die.
Correct.
So if I die, I'm okay with that, right?
I would wake up and go, first thing, immediately.
Wow.
Since the opiates were so far off of anything you'd ever done, and you were living locally around your entire family, surely they saw a complete shift in what they were used to seeing.
Well, I'm good at performing.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
very
your forte.
good. I'm good at putting on a front.
But even your brother didn't see it?
At this point, he was dabbling with us.
Okay.
At this point, he has had a couple of back surgeries. His wife has left him. He has a major pain pill addiction. He had gone through a treatment at this point as well. Just struggling just like us.
You still have not gone through any treatments?
No.
Has it ever been offered to you? Anybody ever suggested to you?
No.
Okay.
Because no one really knew what was going on. People only knew what I wanted them to know.
Yeah. So you must have been maybe not isolated, but in the process of isolating. I mean, you must have been.
I was
hiding
very
out a bit.
isolated.
Yeah.
I was. I would go to work. I was a very high functioning addict. I was able to work at a law firm. Granted, I missed a lot of time, but I managed to hold down this job, and I just kept my distance. I was very selective on who I was around and what activities I went to, and to be honest, I didn't do a lot. I was just, the goal was to be high at home. And
so inwardly, you're dying emotionally,
for sure.
mentally. I mean, you're just in chaos. Outwardly, though, there's still a bit of this charmed life because, like you said, this sweet little bouncy.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. And so there's, boy, what a contradiction of,
and when you're
environments.
performing like that, I feel like people probably thought they were closer to you than they were.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. That's a problem I still struggle with is letting, I love connecting. Connecting with people is I love it. But I have to really push myself to do it because that little voice in my head is very loud. And
saying what?
You suck. You stink. You're no good. Nobody wants you. No, just stop. Go sit down. Go to your room. Shut the door. Yeah. That's where you need to be.
Yeah. So you like relationships that are, I just heard this expression and I have a reason to use it.
Oh, good.
You like relationships that are a mile wide and a half inch deep.
Oh, yeah, that'll do
because,
it. Yeah.
Because they exist only in the superficial, right? So it's vulnerability that scares you. Relationship, you can rise to the occasion and get the Academy Award if need be. But when we get under that level, they're going to see who I am.
There's a lot of shame there. Yeah.
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 Go ahead.
Go ahead. Nope.
Well, it's interesting because that's the first time you've used that word. Where do you think that shame is coming from?
It's coming from my parents.
Well, and that's the performance. It's not just always that belief that if you were taught, follow the rules, do this, and you're performing. It's not that when you mess up that you've done something bad. Shame is that belief that you are bad. And so I feel like you've always believed it's you. You're wrong. I'm bad. Something's wrong with me.
Yes.
If I'm at this family's house, as you mentioned, it's this half is wrong. That's I am bad.
Yes.
Well, that is shame.
Yeah.
Yes, that is.
So when you say my
1000%.
parents, though, then kind of what Kathryn's describing is you're not in your head living up to their.
Well, when I'm with my dad's side of the family, like I said earlier, I try to hide the part of me that's like my mom. And then when I'm at my mom's side of the family, I try to hide. I'm ashamed of the part of me that's like my dad.
Right.
And so there is just constant shame.
You're just ashamed of who you are because you belong to both of your parents.
Correct. Yeah. Just for being born. Yeah.
Wow. So you really have a love-hate relationship with these substances then, right? Because there's moments of taking me out of that torture, out of that, right?
Yeah.
But into a different torture, into a different misery. Wow. So All right. So you're in this second marriage. Any kids
Nope.
from here? Okay.
No, sir.
So we're dodging some bullets there. I don't mean that facetious.
We are
about it. Sounds probably
thinking,
good.
Lord, just whenever you're ready, I'm ready. I want a baby. You know, I'll stop doing the drugs. I promise. Just whenever you're ready, I'm ready.
So that's it. I mean, that's interesting that you just did it that way, because I'm not even going to ask about the kids, but your relationship with God throughout all this.
Oh, yeah.
You're still praying. You're still, you haven't shelved him. There's still this
awareness.
You're seeking, you're not seeking him. You're crying out through the smoke and what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
My grandmother on my dad's side planted seeds. She was married to an Assembly of God preacher. And, I remember her teaching me John 3:16 in the back of the car on the way to church on Wednesday nights, you know, like my brother and I repeating it after her. And so while I may have gone away, I knew the whole time, you know, I'm smoking meth and reading my Bible.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
You ever done that?
Yeah.
So was there ever a time where you were angry at him?
God?
Did you ever blame him or get angry at him or?
Nope, that came later.
Came later. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, we'll get there, because I would very much like to hear. Did it come in your sobriety, or?
It has. It has come in my sobriety.
Very interesting. Okay. All right. So let's backtrack then. I'm going to wait with bated breath here. So, all right. So this marriage just goes on for how long?
Same amount of time as the previous one.
About 4 years?
Yep, about 4 years.
Okay. So
y'all separate. How does that come about? And so you were, this is in your 30s?
In my 30s. He is not wanting to stop doing drugs. We have tried. We've been to counseling, spiritual counseling. We were both trying not to do drugs. And then he just kind of decided, you know, I think I might start cooking some meth. You know, I think I might start selling some pills. You know, he was not interested. At least I may have been pretending when I said I want to be clean, but I was at least pretending. Like he was just like, I don't want to be clean.
I'm not ready for that.
I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
And so I left him. I called my dad.
Yep.
Daddy.
Come save me.
Come save me. I need you.
Yeah.
And he came running.
You know, it's interesting that you word that you might have been pretending, but in another sense, and that may be true, in another sense, though, it doesn't seem like you're able to do anything without external validation. So I have to believe that there is a part of you that really does want to do that. There's just nobody in your orbit that will validate that for you and hold your hand through the process.
Correct. That's true. It's true.
Yeah. So, well, I don't want to catapult us ahead, but I'm really curious as to when that comes along. So this marriage ends. You go back to Dad's. Is there a moment of sobriety here, or still?
Nope.
Even at Dad's you're using?
Well, actually, I moved back in with Mom. Dad comes, helps, gives me financial support like he always has, helps move all my furniture out. But I move in with Mom because I can't do drugs at Dad's house.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
I need to still keep up this, what I've got going, but I want to be well too. So,
when you say well,
not needing substances.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is there.
Yes.
It is there.
I do.
Yeah.
I want it. I just.
You don't have the people to join with you.
And the other is familiar.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Very familiar.
Yeah. So does it progress? Are you maintaining? Are you?
No, I get better.
You get better.
I get better.
So it decreases.
It decreases. Yes.
Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today. So this other one ends, you're back at mom's, you're using again, she's using with you, but you're
functioning.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're holding it together.
Yeah. Mythical control is there.
I'm able to get an apartment, to get a house on my own, like a rental house. And I lived there for 2 months. And then I was like, I can't do this. This is hard. And so I moved in with my best friend and her 2 kids. She was going through a divorce. And so I went from husband to mom's house to my own place. And then she was like, come help me. Come live with me, please. And I was like, you know what? Okay, why not? And
I get to go be used and needed.
And needed. And I'm not alone. I'm not working and coming home to an empty house and depressed. And so I did that for 2 years.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's still a little 20-year-old kid in your mom wanting company and reassurance, wanting the same things you kind of want, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So where do you run into things have got to change for real? And like this is... So
after I'm living with my best friend and she starts dating someone and they get engaged. And so I need to go because he has 4 kids of his own. She has 2 girls. They're like the Brady Bunch.
Crowded quick.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I was like, I think it's time for me to go. So I found another place on my own, moved in, got situated. My brother moves in with me to help with the bills.
Is he still using?
He is.
Okay.
He is. We're both working for our stepdad at Bozo's. And neither of us can pay any bills. And I have gotten back involved with my ex-husband.
The first or the
second one?
The second.
The Canas and the opiates and all of
Correct.
that. Correct. Okay.
And I didn't know this, but I hit one of his vape pens and it had meth in it, and I didn't know it. He didn't tell me. And that kind of started smoking meth with him. We weren't snorting pills anymore. We were smoking meth.
Yeah.
Yay. That helped.
Yay. Yep.
Yeah.
But we shared a dog. And so,
that's sweet.
Oh, Hauser. I missed Hauser. Here I am longing to be a mother, and I'm just missing my dog. I just want my dog. So we decided I'm going to get the dog half the time, and he's going to get the dog half the time. And before I know it, I'm on meth, I'm on Opanas, I'm on Suboxone, I'm on anything that I can get my hands on. My paychecks are spent before I get them. I'm always behind on rent. My water's been cut off at this point. I just have a jug of water I'm pouring into the toilet and to brush my teeth with.
Wow.
What year is this? This is kind of getting towards the end.
2015 and 16. And so I'm working at Bozo's. I'm doing my thing, smiling and impressing everybody.
And then going home to this place where you're pouring a jug into the sink to brush. Yeah, that's
100%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you looked like around that time like that you had it all together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was good at that.
You were really good at it.
So you still have good masks.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm offered a job at the people who service Bozo's air handlers. They're like, Heather, come be our front blah, 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 blah office manager thing. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Why not? So I go. Well, here's a job where I'm not working for my dad. It's a little more obvious that there are things going on with me.
There's a problem.
There's a problem. I'm actually having a physical relationship with one of the guys that works there. We're having sex in the back room when nobody's there. I just wanted to feel loved and wanted. And even if for those 7 minutes,
sure.
I would
see me.
Yes, please, please.
Part of the addiction,
sad. So he says, for health insurance, we need to get a drug test from me, please. And so I was was like, that ain't going to work, you know? Like,
It's
what
not
am I
gonna go
supposed
well.
to do with that? And so I'm like, my friend's telling me how to put the pee up you so it stays a particular temperature and all of this. I'm like, I cannot do this. Like, I just can't. So I go into work and I say, Mom, Keith, I call them and say, if I quit my job, will you send me to rehab? I need help.
Oh, wow.
And Keith said, yes. He had been asking, are you okay? Yes, sir, I'm fine. I'm fine. You sure? Yes, sir, I'm fine. Can I have $100? Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And so finally he said, absolutely, of course, you know. And so
And I'm sorry if I missed it. Keith is...
my
The
stepdad.
That is your step. That's his name. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
He married my mom when I was in 4th grade. And at
Okay.
this point, I'm like
Yeah.
26, 27, 25, something like that. And so no kids of his own. He just had my brother and I. And he said, of course. So I went in and said, I'm going to rehab. Sorry, I'm quitting my job. I can't work here for you anymore.
I don't need your insurance.
I don't need your insurance.
I wasn't going to get it anyway.
Yeah.
My bad. And so I go home, and a week later, I'm checking into the Home of Grace.
So this was 2017?
2016, October 20th, 2016.
Okay. And are you one and done?
Yes.
Really?
I am.
So what happens?
Well, I was one. It took a few years to be done, but I never
one treatment. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
one treatment and relapsed the night I got home.
Which, by the way, I don't mean to say that with such shock. It is maybe not the norm, but it is done, and so I don't want anybody out there to think that you know it's mandated that you have to go through multiple treatments.
No.
You don't. I know lots of people can do one and be done. It's nice to hear, and so. But anyway, it's not exactly that picture for you. So you go through Home of Grace.
Yes.
What happens there for you? Because just in terms of like, you know, there's this constant struggle spiritually for you, right? You're talking to God, smoking crack, doing all this stuff. Now you end up in this faith-based program. What happens for you in there?
I went in, I was like, you know, how people find Jesus in prison. I'm going to find Jesus in rehab. I know this is like, I came in wanting to be stripped to the bare minimum and found. Like, that was my goal. I knew what was going to happen if I went there.
Yeah.
And so once I said I need help, it was just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Like it felt so good. So I get to rehab I check in on a Monday, I'm pretty sure. And by Wednesday night, I can take it no longer, hands in the air, complete surrender, just bawling. A gentleman comes and gives his testimony, and I knew then, I was like, this is my time. I'd like to rededicate my life to the Lord. I don't want this life anymore. I want Jesus.
Yeah.
I want to feel the way I did when I was 5, 6, 7 years old at church. Like, I want that feeling again. And then it was on after that. I loved it.
Yeah.
I worked the program. I loved every second of it.
So how long? Because you said we're not completely out of the woods yet.
You
but
said you used the night you left.
The night you left.
So what did you not surrender, and what did you leave undone?
So I graduated, came home. I had asked my mother to empty certain things from my room, to trash things, and something got missed. And I was like, ooh. Yep, here we go. And it was a meth pipe, and I just smoked the residue out of it. My brother and I were living together. He was supposed to be holding me accountable.
Is he in recovery at this time?
He had been to treatment. He's taken his own prescription medication that belongs to him, but he's abusing it.
Yeah.
When he runs out, he's buying it off the street. He has a real need for it,
Right.
but he's abusing it.
Okay.
Did anyone recommend that maybe he wouldn't be the best accountability for you? I mean, did anyone say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But y'all had it figured
Tar was
out.
my counselor.
Okay.
And
'Cause I'm like, none of that sounds like a good idea.
I lied. You know, he's good. It's going to be safe. I just want to get back to my dog.
Yeah.
That was what it boiled down to. I needed to get home to my dog and wanted, So I cleaned that bowl out, that pipe out, and 2 days later, I start smoking pot again. And my brother has a girlfriend at this point. And she's smoking meth, but he doesn't know. But I know because I know. You know. And so...
Did you become friends with her so that y'all could use meth together?
Correct. Yes. And then I got my second ex-husband involved in it as well. And so the three of us were smoking meth together. And then I find out that those two are seeing each other behind my back.
And behind your brother's back.
And behind my brother's back. So here I am in my second love triangle. The first one was my first ex-husband and my best friend. And then so the second one now is my second ex-husband and my brother's girlfriend.
Did you tell your brother?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I told him. And I learned something from the first marriage. I don't want to be involved in this. And so I excused myself. I quit smoking meth right then. And I said, that's not what I want. And I was able to let it go.
Wow.
And did.
Okay.
So that was cool. That was good. That was in 2017.
What do? You stop, but where do you go? Are you still...
I'm still in town, still living in the house.
Okay. Wow. That had
in
to
Pascagoula.
That's a heavy lift.
It was. But I did not want the same pain that I went through in that first love triangle. So I was learning.
Yeah.
I was slowly but surely I was learning. And so distanced myself. At this point, I had an older lady who I was buying her morphine pills. And so she was really good about letting me just come and get what I wanted. And then when I got paid, I would go back and pay her and then get another week's worth of morphine pills. And then I'd go back and pay her. And so this was the cycle.
Yeah. Okay.
And so...
So this is not a small relapse. You're back in the thick of it. Okay.
Back into the swing of things.
Yeah.
I realize I can't get it together. I need to move. I need to get away from Pascagoula. A friend of mine lived in Bradenton, Florida, which is about 10 hours away. And so she said, come on, let's go. I got a couch. Come on.
And she's clean?
I thought she was. That's what they presented.
Well, the geographical change it never works anyway.
No. But I went. My grandma gave me gas money, prayed for me out the door, and I made it there with an expired tag, and my cell phone died. Like, my service was cut off the day after I got there. So here I am 10 hours away. My cell phone works when I have internet, so I can do like Facebook and that sort of thing. But as far as like driving around town with my maps and like trying to figure out where to go, none of that is happening. So I am forced, Lord, you got to get me there. Lord, that was the 9 months that I solely depended on him, like to even get me down the road to like, I don't know where I'm going, but I know you're going to get me there. And sure enough, I always got there. He never failed. He always got me right where I needed to be. And I got a job waiting tables, and I had this little Southern accent, and they loved it. And I got requested all the time. And Miss Heather was just, this little Mississippi girl was taking Florida by, I loved it.
So here comes the money, though.
So here comes the money. Yep.
Yeah.
And I walk in on my friend snorting a pill. It's like, oh, so that's what we're doing here. Well, I'd like one too, please. My dog was diagnosed with cancer, and I had to put her down while I was there. My baby. And so, of course, that spiraled into, I got all my bills caught up and all of that. And then I was making $300 or $400 a shift. Yeah. It was crazy. And slowly got a pill hookup and started going down the same path. And I was like, you know what? This is not going to work. This is not going to happen. I can't do this. I've got to go home. I got to go back home.
How long into it did you make that decision? Did you snap out of it quickly now, or did several years go by?
No.
So you're just a couple months into it. Okay.
A couple months, and I was like, this.
But going back home, right? I mean, I'm hoping there's a different ending, but it's always back home, and that's always a disaster. So
this time, luckily for me, when I was at the Home of Grace, we church hopped. You go to all the different churches, and we had gone to Mosaic, and I loved it. And so when I moved back from Florida in 2018, I ran into an old neighbor of mine, and she said, "Come to Mosaic, come to church." And I was like, you know what? I think I will. And I did. And I never left after that. Like it became my place.
Yeah.
My now husband went on staff a couple of months after I got involved there as the worship pastor. And then within a few months, we were meeting each other and dating and got engaged and got married all within like a year.
Yeah.
But I had 2 years of sobriety under my belt at this point when I was at the church for 2 years, getting involved. I got baptized, started serving, like that church community that you need to stay where you want to stay.
You did learn what to do when you were in the program.
Oh, yes. I got all the tools. I knew exactly what I needed to do.
Go back to what you should have done.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, and it's also the exact opposite, right? Again, a familiar refrain that comes up in these stories is stepping out of a recovery program, a moment of sobriety, and what? Going right back to the old people, places, and things, right? So it just reminds me, there's a Bible verse that says you don't put old wine into new wineskins, right? Ooh. But that's exactly what people do. Every time they go 2 steps forward, they run back to the old environment. And that is a recipe for disaster, right? And you've experienced it time and time again. So,
and who you choose as your accountability.
Yeah.
There are definite people in my family, as much as they love me, they could never have been my accountability. Mm-hmm. And we know that. Yeah. When you said your brother would be your accountability.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that was a reservation because I know that you knew then that if you wanted to use it would have been fine.
Oh, definitely.
But it sounded really good. So just in case I don't want to stay doing this, he's going to be my accountability.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
I gave myself that out, and I'm going to smile, and I'm going to nod to my counselor because I feel like this is what I want.
Yeah.
But just in case, that's who it's going to be.
Right. It's true.
Heather, so you've been sober now for how long?
Since 2018.
Since 2018. What's been your biggest struggle in the sober time?
Well, so in 2020, I went full-time at the law firm, and I got health insurance. Mm-hmm. So therapy. I started going to therapy.
Awesome.
And we started peeling back some layers. Yeah. And dealing with all of that junk has been probably... I'm very transparent in my healing journey. I feel like you have to be.
Yeah.
And I love that. It fuels my fire to share what I've learned about myself. But giving myself permission to forgive myself for all of that stuff when I was just trying to feel loved, like I made all of these wrong turns and bad decisions, all in the pursuit of love, safe love, not just love, safe love. Like I needed to feel loved and whole.
And that you were enough.
And that I was enough, just me, just 50% Evelyn, 50% Donnie.
Yeah.
I'm perfect. Mm-hmm. God wanted me for a reason. He made me.
None of you was wrong.
No.
How was that, learning to forgive yourself?
Oh, it's still a process. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are days that I have to work really hard at it. And some days not so much. Some days it seems to just flow right, and
But I love that you said that because when we talked about forgiveness, that it is a choice and it's something you have to do daily. It's not like I forgave Paul today and I'm done. I don't have to do that again. That was great. No, it's I can choose to take that back, even for ourselves.
And I think sometimes forgiving self can be harder, but it usually is intricately tied to the difficulty in loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. And, go ahead.
When I was in treatment, all the girls go around and, I had surgery and I became addicted because of this and this. And all I could say was I had a great life, a wonderful childhood. I was loved. I had everything I needed. I never wanted for anything. Yeah. And I threw all of that away. And then not until 2020 did I realize No, baby, your scars, you're on the inside, you were hurt. You weren't broken on the outside. You didn't need a cast for your arm or for your leg. You needed soul surgery, like you needed spirit surgery. You didn't just do this. You didn't just wake up one day and just say, I'm going to be a drug addict. Let me see what I can get away with.
Yeah.
No. You were that 7-year-old broken girl in there just looking for wholeness and safety and love and everything that kids should just have.
Yeah. Heather, thank you so much. Your story is so valuable on both fronts because you were equally affected by dependency as you were on codependency.
Yes.
Right? There's really that duality in your story. And I think it's there for most people, but really, really prominent here. And on that note that you ended on, I will just say to those listening that, we all need validation. We all need approval, but we need it from the right places. And there's the catch, right? The world will throw lots of things at you to offer a counterfeit. The way I always put it, now that I've mentioned counterfeit, I'm going to sort of just talk from the hip. I always call addiction the great con man, right? So if somebody were to step into your life and what they wanted was the money in your bank account, they're not going to come in and say, give me the code to your bank, because you're going to go, yeah, right. What they're going to do is they're going to come in, they're going to earn your trust, they're going to wine you, they're going to dine you, they're going to be there when you need them, they're going to do all these things where you're just like, man, this is like family. And then one day there's going to be this need, and for whatever reason you need to really trust somebody, and that's going to be the person you trust, and that's going to be the opportunity that they use to take it all from you. And that's exactly what addiction does in your life. I can promise you that if you're wrestling with addiction, there is nothing, no pleasure, no benefit that your addiction ever gave you that it wasn't setting up to take 10 times more from you. It's just, it's a bad trade. And guys, here's the point. Here's why we do this podcast from the Jesus Loves Addicts perspective, because you will only find what you're looking for in the arms of Christ. You will only find what you're looking for in the arms of Jesus. And I say that wholeheartedly and with all the compassion I can, because I see people all the time throwing their brokenness somewhere to try and get some relief, some respite from it. And, the issue is that the world uses a megaphone and God uses a still small voice. But he does it like a teacher in a disruptive classroom, right? A smart teacher lowers her voice because people lean in and go, what? Jesus is just waiting for you to lean in and go, what? And follow him. I pray that you do that today. We love you. Jesus loves you, and we'll see you next time.